What if I told you that no one is coming? Not your friends, not your family, not your partner, not the universe, not fate, not some secret plan hidden in the stars. No one is coming to pull you out of the pain you're sitting in. No one is coming to fight your battles, to clean up your mess, to hand you the life you keep dreaming about. And I know that sounds harsh, but let me ask you something. How long have you been waiting? How long have you been hoping someone would finally see your struggle and just help? Be honest with yourself. There's this quiet belief we carry, sometimes without realizing it, that eventually someone will notice how much we're hurting, how much we're carrying, how exhausted we are from trying to hold it all together. That if we keep being kind, patient, loyal, hardworking, then maybe someone will reward us, rescue us, validate us, finally choose us. But that moment, that rescue, that someone you've been waiting for, they're not on their way. And the longer you keep standing at the window, hoping for them to appear, the more life is passing you by. So here's the truth, and you might not like it, but you need to hear it. The only one who's going to change your life, the only one who's going to save you is you. Let that sink in, because once it does, something inside you shifts. You stop begging the world to treat you differently. You stop hoping someone else will carry your weight, and instead, you start to rise. You start to build. You start to become the kind of person who doesn't need saving. And that's when you become unstoppable. That's when you finally start living on your own terms. So the question now is, are you ready to stop waiting and start becoming? Because this is where it begins. Right here, right now, with you. You need to stop waiting, not tomorrow, not next week, not when things feel easier or you finally get a break. Right now, you've got to stop waiting for someone to come and pull you out of the pit you're in, because no one is coming. That's not meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up. Maybe you grew up believing that if you worked hard enough, stayed good enough, did everything right, someone would show up and make things better. Maybe you were taught that being strong means suffering in silence until someone notices. But life doesn't reward quiet suffering. It doesn't hand out prizes for enduring pain without speaking up. It doesn't work that way, because the truth is most people are too busy fighting their own battles to come and fight yours too. That's not cruelty, it's reality. And maybe that hurts. Maybe it feels unfair. Maybe part of you is screaming, but I've done everything I was supposed to do. And you probably have. You've done your best. You've given and loved and tried and sacrificed. You've waited for your chance, your moment, your rescue. But life doesn't operate on effort alone. It demands movement. It demands decision. It demands that you take action when nothing and no one around you is making it easy. There's a voice inside you that whispers, keep waiting just a little longer. That voice tells you it's too soon, or you're not ready, or someone will eventually come and fix things. And that voice, it's lying to you. It's keeping you stuck. It's feeding you comfort while your potential rots inside of you. Every single day, you wait for the situation to change. You are handing away your power. You are giving permission to your pain to own you. And you are not built for that. You are not designed to be powerless. You are not created to sit and hope and wish your way into a better life. You are made to rise. If you're in a place where you feel broken, tired, invisible, listen closely. No one is going to pick you up off the floor. No one's going to sit beside you and say, okay, I'll carry this for you. The only person who can do that is the one looking back at you in the mirror. And you might not feel strong. You might not feel brave. You might not even feel like you deserve more. But it doesn't matter how you feel. It matters what you decide. When you finally stop waiting, something shifts. You begin to realize that the power you were looking for in other people has always been yours. You begin to see that you don't need a savior. You need a strategy. You don't need someone to take control. You need to take ownership, and it's not about being perfect. It's not about having all the answers. It's about taking the first step, scared, unsure, trembling, and doing it anyway. You might have every excuse in the book. You might say, but you don't understand what I've been through. You're right, I don't. But I also know this. Pain isn't a permission slip to stay stuck. What you've been through may not be your fault, but your healing, your future, that's your responsibility. Nobody owes you transformation. That's something you choose. And once you choose it, nothing and no one can stop you. There is no perfect time to start. There is no ideal moment. where everything will align and feel safe. Life doesn't give you that kind of security. You create it by deciding that you're done waiting. You create it by showing up when it's messy, when it's unclear, when you don't even fully believe in yourself yet, but you show up anyway. You show up for your growth. You show up for your future. You show up for the version of you that's buried under fear and doubt and years of putting everyone else first. Stop waiting for permission to live your life. Stop waiting for someone to hand you the keys to the door you already know. You need to open. No one is going to tap you on the shoulder and say, now's the time. It's already time. You're already capable. You've already survived so much more than you give yourself credit for. And now it's about building. It's about taking what's left, the broken pieces, the raw pain, the hard lessons, and turning it into something powerful. People will come and go. Support will rise and fall. Circumstances will change. But you are the one constant. You are the foundation. And the moment you stop waiting and start acting, the moment you look life in the eye and say, I'm not waiting anymore, that's the moment everything begins to change. It won't be easy. Nothing worth doing ever is. But you weren't made for easy. You were made for evolution. You were made for resilience. And it's time to prove to yourself just how powerful you really are. You don't need a savior. You don't need a miracle. You don't need someone to come and make things right. You need you fully awake, fully present, fully committed. And the second you stop waiting, that's the second your real life begins. At some point, you have to stop pointing fingers. Even if every one of those fingers seems justified, even if the pain was real, even if the betrayal cut deep, even if life didn't give you a fair start, at some point you have to stop saying, this happened to me, and start saying, this is what I'm going to do about it. That moment, that's the moment you step into radical ownership, and it will change everything. Radical ownership is not about blame. It's not about saying everything that went wrong was your fault. It's about choosing power over pity. It's about looking at your life, no matter how messy, complicated, or painful, and saying, I'm in control now. This is mine to manage, mine to fix, mine to rebuild. You see, as long as you keep handing out responsibility to other people, you're also handing them control of your peace, control of your choices, control of your future. And when you do that, you become a prisoner to your past. Ownership is freedom. It's the realization that your life may have started a certain way, but how it ends, that's on you. The stories you tell yourself about why you can't change, why you're stuck, why you keep getting hurt, they're just that, stories. And as long as you keep repeating them, you're reinforcing your own limitations. But when you start taking ownership, you rewrite the narrative. You say, this might have broken me, but it won't define me. You say, yes, they hurt me, but they don't get to control how I move forward. That's what ownership sounds like. You'll know you're stepping into radical ownership when you stop justifying your inaction. When you stop saying, I didn't have time, and start admitting I didn't make it a priority. When you stop saying, they always treat me like this, and start asking, why do I keep letting them? It's a brutal shift. It's uncomfortable. It forces you to face the part of yourself that's been hiding behind excuses. But it's also liberating, because once you accept that you have the power to change things, you no longer need someone else to give you permission to grow. There's a moment when you look at your life and realize that no one else is going to take the wheel. That if you want different, you have to become different. That nothing is going to move unless you move it. That moment is terrifying. And it's also the most powerful moment you will ever have. Because once you fully own your life, you stop waiting for external circumstances to change before you do. You stop letting your environment dictate your identity. You stop playing small just because you're afraid to be seen trying. Most people want transformation, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with it. They want freedom without accountability. They want growth without discomfort. But it doesn't work that way. Ownership means you get to take credit for your wins, but it also means you own your losses. You own the days you didn't show up, the moments you let fear win, the times you lowered your standards and let people cross your boundaries. But instead of hating yourself for it, you learn, you adjust, you evolve. When you take radical ownership, your life stops happening to you and starts happening through you. You realize you're not stuck, you're just scared. You're not unworthy, you're just unpracticed, you're not broken, you're just unfinished. And from that place, you start making decisions that reflect the person you're becoming, not the one you've been. You'll lose some people when you start taking ownership. The ones who benefited from your silence, your compliance, your need to please, they won't like the new you, because the new you doesn't wait to be chosen, doesn't shrink to be liked, doesn't play the victim to stay comfortable. The new you is focused, clear, accountable. That version of you doesn't explain your growth. You live it. You embody it. And guess what? When you take ownership, you stop obsessing over who's supporting you and who's not. You stop worrying about who claps and who criticizes. You're too busy doing the work, too busy becoming, too busy building something real from the rubble of what tried to destroy you. Ownership makes you dangerous. In the best way, because now you can't be manipulated, you can't be guilted into settling. You're no longer swayed by temporary emotions or other people's opinions. You've decided, you've chosen yourself. It's not a one-time decision. Radical ownership is a lifestyle. It's a daily choice to take responsibility for how you show up in the world, regardless of what the world throws at you. And some days, you'll get it wrong. You'll slip, you'll fall back into old habits. But the difference is now you'll own that too. You won't hide from it, you'll confront it, learn from it, rise because of it. When you finally grasp that no one is coming to save you, and you pair that truth with radical ownership, you unlock a new level of power within yourself. You realize that no matter how hard life hits, as long as you take responsibility for your response, you're never truly out of the fight. So stop waiting for the apology, the closure, the perfect timing, the dream job, the right partner, the ideal circumstances. Own your time, own your habits, own your mindset, own your healing, because no one else can and no one else will. You're not helpless, you're just one decision away from everything changing. Own it. Discomfort isn't the enemy, it's the price of admission. You don't get to grow, to evolve, to step into your highest self without walking through the fire of discomfort. And that's what most people miss. They think transformation is supposed to feel good. They think clarity is supposed to come in moments of peace. They believe confidence comes first and courage comes easy. But it doesn't. It never has. Everything you want in life, the strength, the peace, the resilience, the discipline, it all lives on the other side of discomfort. But let's be honest, most people will do anything to avoid it. They'll stay in bad relationships because the idea of being alone is uncomfortable. They'll stay in jobs they hate because the fear of failure is uncomfortable. They'll keep pretending to be something they're not just to avoid the discomfort of being misunderstood. And so they stay stuck, safe, but stuck, comfortable, but dying slowly inside. Discomfort is not there to punish you. It's there to introduce you to the version of yourself that comfort has kept hidden. It's in discomfort that you realize you can endure more than you thought. You can stretch farther than you believed. You can survive what you once thought would break you. But that discovery doesn't happen in your comfort zone. It happens in the friction, in the tension, in the space where you want to quit, but decide not to. Think about every powerful moment of growth in your life. It probably didn't come wrapped in ease. It came after heartbreak, after failure, after loss, after fear. But what happened on the other side of that pain? You got stronger. You learned, you sharpened your edges, you found out what you were made of. And isn't that worth something? Isn't that more valuable than a temporary feeling of safety? The reality is that people spend so much time trying to avoid being uncomfortable that they never truly begin. They plan, they wait, they daydream, they rehearse, but they don't move. Because movement means risk. It means being seen. It means being judged, failing, starting over, and being vulnerable. And all of that is uncomfortable. But guess what else it is? Necessary. You cannot grow in the same place where you've been playing small. There is a version of you right now that's buried under layers of fear and excuses, and the only thing standing between you and that version is discomfort. That first awkward conversation, that decision to walk away, that early morning you don't want to wake up, that workout you're dreading, that book you're scared to write, that business you're hesitating to launch. all of it. Every breakthrough is guarded by discomfort like a gatekeeper, and it's daring you to pass through. And when you do, you'll find that the discomfort wasn't as deadly as you thought. You'll find that the thing you were scared of was mostly in your head. You'll find that fear doesn't disappear. It just loses power every time you push through it. That's how confidence is built. Not by waiting to feel ready, but by doing the hard things, scared, shaky, and unsure. People ask all the time, how do I become more confident? You earn it. You earn it by doing uncomfortable things until they're no longer uncomfortable. You don't wake up one day with courage. You build it in the gym of discomfort. Every rep, every tear, every moment where you want to run and don't, that's where the transformation lives. That's where the strength comes from. And if you're not willing to get uncomfortable, you're not willing to grow. Discomfort is the teacher that never lies. It doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care about your past. It only cares about your willingness to show up. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you evolve. You stop playing defense with life and start playing offense. You start building a version of you that isn't dependent on things being easy, smooth, or predictable. Instead, you become resilient. You become resourceful. You become unstoppable. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Comfort can be just as dangerous as pain, because comfort can trap you in a life that's beneath you. It can convince you that settling is smart, that dreaming is childish, that being realistic means playing it safe. But what comfort never tells you is that it's quietly killing your potential. It's slowly convincing you that good enough is all you'll ever get. And that is a lie. You weren't meant to just survive. You were meant to thrive. But thriving demands discomfort. It demands effort. It demands the willingness to step into the unknown without a guarantee. It demands that you trust yourself more than you trust your fears. So the next time discomfort shows up, and it will, don't run, don't numb it, don't talk yourself out of it. Lean in, let it shape you. Let it break the parts of you that were never meant to stay, because on the other side of discomfort is clarity, strength, identity, and freedom. Discomfort is not your enemy, it's your invitation. The question is, are you brave enough to accept it? Self-discipline is not a habit. It's not a phase. It's not something you do only when life is falling apart. It's a way of living, a mindset, a belief system, a commitment to becoming the kind of person who keeps promises to themselves. And until you make self-discipline your foundation, your results will always be temporary, your progress will always be shaky, and your motivation will always be inconsistent. You can't live a powerful life without self-discipline. You can't build something meaningful, something lasting, without structure. You can't transform without consistency. The problem is, most people rely on emotion to get things done. They wait to feel inspired. They wait to feel ready. They move when it's easy, and they stop when it's not. But emotions are liars. One moment you're fired up, the next you're making excuses. One moment you want it all, the next you want comfort more. That's why motivation fades and self-discipline has to take over. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't care about your mood. It doesn't consult your fears. It demands action, regardless of the noise in your head. When you live with discipline, you don't make decisions based on how tired you are or how discouraged you feel. You make decisions based on who you want to become. And that difference, that mindset, that's what separates people who succeed from people who settle. You can't afford to be emotionally driven when your future is on the line. You can't afford to trust your comfort zone when your calling is screaming for your attention. You've got to train yourself to show up when it's inconvenient, when it's boring, when no one's watching, when no one is cheering you on, because that's when character is built. That's when winners are made. Think about it. Anyone can go to the gym when they feel excited. Anyone can be focused when the conditions are perfect. Anyone can post about ambition, about the grind, about hustle when life feels easy. But what about when life is messy, when you're tired, when it's dark, when the motivation is gone? That's when discipline shows up. That's when you find out who you really are. Discipline is showing up after the excitement dies. Discipline is putting in the reps when nobody notices. Discipline is choosing structure over impulse, long-term over short-term, legacy over laziness. You don't need someone breathing down your neck to hold you accountable. You need to become the kind of person who does what needs to be done, even when nobody's watching. That's the highest form of power, when you don't need external pressure to do the internal work. When your standards are so high that you refuse to betray yourself by taking the easy way out. And yes, discipline is going to cost you. It'll cost you late nights, early mornings, parties you miss, comfort you leave behind. It'll cost you friends who don't understand your drive. It'll cost you the luxury of excuses. But you know what it gives you in return? Freedom, peace, self-respect, confidence, mastery. It gives you a life you can be proud of, a legacy you built with your own two hands. Because here's the truth, without self-discipline, you become a slave to your environment. You become controlled by your urges, your distractions, your fears. Without discipline, you'll always default to the lowest version of yourself, the one that wants to avoid discomfort, delay effort, escape reality. But with discipline, you elevate. You decide, you lead. You don't ask life to be easier. You get stronger. You don't beg for shortcuts. You take the long way with pride, because you know anything worth having is earned. People often say they want change, but what they really want is convenience. They want results without the grind, transformation without the process. But that's not how greatness is built. That's not how you become someone who doesn't just talk about goals, but finishes them. You don't rise by accident. You rise on purpose. You rise because you told yourself, this is who I am now, and you meant it. And listen, discipline doesn't mean perfection. It means consistency. It means you fall down, but you don't stay there. It means you mess up, but you don't quit. It means your goals matter more than your excuses. It means you don't need a crowd to perform. You perform because you've raised your standards too high to go back. That kind of discipline isn't just about what you do, it's about who you are. You want to build a life that means something? Get disciplined. You want to break generational cycles? Get disciplined. You want to love yourself deeply and respect your reflection? Get disciplined, because it's in those quiet moments when no one sees your effort, when no one applauds your restraint, that your transformation begins. That's where greatness is formed, in the unseen, uncelebrated consistency of a disciplined life. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop needing the stars to align. Stop giving yourself permission to slack off every time life gets heavy. Be the kind of person who doesn't wait to feel ready, who acts anyway, who doesn't complain about what's hard, who gets stronger, who doesn't fold under pressure, but focuses under pressure. Your future self is watching you. And the version of you who's successful, who's fulfilled, who's unshakable, that version didn't get there on luck. They got there through discipline, through waking up when it hurt, showing up when it was hard, saying no when it was easier to say yes. That version of you is waiting to be built. Brick by brick, choice by choice. Make discipline your new religion. Let it guide your actions. Let it anchor your habits. Let it shape your identity. Because when discipline becomes who you are, not just what you do, there's nothing you can't build, nothing you can't endure, nothing you can't become. Let me know when you're ready to move on to the final major section. Build yourself into the person you needed. Ready when you are to dive into the final section. Build yourself into the person you needed. Would you like me to begin? There comes a point when you realize that the person you needed all along isn't coming. The protector, the guide, the nurturer, the one who would understand without judgment, speak truth into your silence, and push you forward when you were too afraid to move. Maybe they should have been there. Maybe someone should have stepped in. Maybe someone should have taught you how to love yourself, how to set boundaries, how to stand tall in a world that keeps trying to make you small, but they didn't. And as painful as that is, it's not the end of the story, because now it's your job to become that person. You're not here to carry the weight of what others failed to give you. You're here to take what they didn't provide and build it from scratch. You're here to become the protector you always needed, the encourager you longed for, the strong voice that silences doubt, the steady hands that don't let you fall, the fighter who stands up for you, especially when you don't feel worth fighting for. No one's gonna hand you healing. No one's going to give you back the years that were stolen, the confidence that was crushed, the peace that was stripped away. But you can reclaim it. You can build it into yourself, day by day, layer by layer, word by word, choice by choice. You become the person you needed when you start protecting your peace. Even if it means disappointing others, you become that person when you stop abandoning yourself to belong. When you stop lowering your standards just to be accepted. When you stop keeping the peace externally while you're crumbling internally. You become that person when you choose truth over comfort, when you choose growth over approval. Think back to the moments you felt invisible. The moments you wished someone had stepped in and said, I see you. You matter. You're not crazy. You're not too much. You're just enough. Now realize this. You can say that to yourself now. You can reparent the scared parts of you. You can speak life into your wounds. You can stand over your own reflection and whisper, I've got you. I'm not leaving. I will show up for you every day, no matter what. This is how you begin to break cycles, not with blame, not with waiting, but with responsibility, with resilience, with a refusal to let your past define your future. The most powerful transformation isn't loud. It doesn't come with applause. It starts quietly in the moment you decide you're done waiting for someone else to be what you've always needed. You start showing up differently. You make decisions that reflect the person you're becoming, not the one you used to be. You set boundaries. You speak up. You walk away when it hurts, even if you're shaking, even if your voice trembles, even if you cry in the car afterward, because you know this is what the strongest version of you would do. And here's the thing, it won't feel natural at first. It won't feel familiar, because dysfunction was your normal, chaos was your baseline, self-sacrifice was your pattern. So when you begin to choose yourself, you'll feel guilty. You'll feel selfish, but that's not truth. That's conditioning, and you are allowed to challenge it. You are allowed to rise above it. You are allowed to heal. It's not your job to fix what broke you. It's your job to become whole in spite of it. You're not responsible for the wounds, but you are responsible for the recovery. That's what becoming the person you needed really means. It means not waiting for closure from someone who was never capable of giving it. It means not requiring permission to take up space. It means loving yourself with the same ferocity you once begged for from others. Be the person who holds you accountable without shame. Be the person who believes in your potential even on your worst days. Be the person who shows you what's possible, not what's comfortable. Be the person who chooses purpose over pain. You will outgrow the versions of yourself that were created out of survival, and that's okay. You were doing what you had to do. But now you're allowed to thrive. Now you're allowed to build, to create, to expand, not because someone saved you, but because you chose to become your own safety, your own light, your own home. You're not weak because you've been through hell. You're powerful because you walked through it and came out with clarity. You're not broken because you needed someone. You're brave because you learned to need yourself. And the moment you start honoring that is the moment your life begins to shift. This isn't about perfection. This is about loyalty to your own growth, to your own voice, to your own healing. The person you needed back then, they're waiting inside you, not to be found, but to be built. Piece by piece, brick by brick, day by day, step by step, you become, you rise, you lead. Not because it's easy, not because you have all the answers, but because you made a decision, one that most people will never have the courage to make. You decided to stop waiting for the hero, and instead you became the warrior. At some point, you have to make a choice, continue living a life that happens to you, or take full command and become the person you were always meant to be. No one is coming to fix it. No one is coming to validate your pain. No one is coming to give you closure, to give you confidence, to give you clarity. You are the rescue. You are the answer. You are the one. This is your life. And no matter how broken, messy, painful, or uncertain it feels right now, it's yours. Own it. Stand in it. Claim every scar, every lesson, every damn setback, and turn it into fuel. Because here's the truth. The version of you who's disciplined, focused, unbreakable, they're not a fantasy. They're not someone else's story. They are all already inside you. You just have to stop waiting and stop begging the world to choose you. Choose yourself. Stop hoping someone will see your worth. Prove it to yourself. Stop waiting for someone to say, you've got this. Say it to yourself every single day. You don't need saving. You need to rise. You need to rebuild. You need to become the kind of person who doesn't need to be rescued because they've already decided they will never abandon themselves again. You are the storm. You are the standard. You are the savior you've been waiting for. Now act like it.